Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Droids. Yes, this is a Star Wars animated series from 1985 that was, 2 years after the end of the original trilogy, and it was an effort to keep that money train rolling. Anything Star Wars through 1983, when Return of the Jedi came out, was just a means to print money. And along with this, I mean, droids, we had Ewoks, we had those are two of the cartoons. We had the Caravan of Courage, and just a number of different live action movies, TV movies that were released around that time. This is, I barely remember this. It was 1985, and it was like I was saying yesterday, maybe I was too cool to watch Star Wars cartoons, or maybe I was just a purist and I could not watch anything that wasn't part of the original trilogy. And there was never going to be made any more Star Wars after that, so why bother with these paltry, you know, lame attempts at the Star Wars story. Besides, this doesn't seem to be canon. Okay, well, in this, while these may or may not be canon, because, by the way, this starts out with a very brief explanation that this does seem to take place before the original Star Wars trilogy. I don't know. Unless it happens during a time when they're owned by Master Antilles, before Luke comes along, because at some point they're lost in a game of chance, because, droids are slaves, and they could just be gambled away like any other piece of machinery as currency. So I don't know. I can't imagine Luke and them making attempts to, gamble away the droids and then just be like good with them being gone for a while. I think they would have come after them. Though there's so many different little references throughout. It looks like they're on Tatooine the first time, but I'm sure there's other desert planets like Jakku. But yeah, so I'm really concerned or confused as to where all this is taking place. But when it's a Saturday morning cartoon, it is not a at least at that point, except for the super Star Wars nerds like me, who were watching it, which wasn't me. Nobody cared. It was meant to entertain children, like the movies. And so the droids just went on wacky adventures. It's Anthony Daniels' show for the most part, because he is the consistent voice through all this. R2D2 as himself. It could have said Ben Burt, even though it's, because he's responsible for the sound of Star Wars, pretty much for the sound effects of everything from the walkers to the lightsabers to R2D2's beeps and bloops. I didn't see in the credits whether he got mentioned or not, but yeah, he's in a sense R2D2, but also a lot of Star Wars, at least in your ear, besides John Williams. So we get them. They jump from master to master. C-3PO seems very intent on getting a new master as quickly as possible, because I guess that's in his programming that he isn't his own droid. He needs to serve somebody, to be of use. And R2, while he has his own little missions and attitudes about certain things, he doesn't seem to be that assertive in this. He just sort of goes along with it, which doesn't sound like R2-D2 at all. I say this because R2-D2 is my favorite character in the Star Wars saga. I know that sounds weird for one that doesn't speak, but he is the most influential character of the entire saga. Nothing would have happened without him. And he's the only one. He's the one who retains the entire story of the 9-film saga. Yeah, he's the only one who knows pretty much. He was there through all of it, which is kind of cool. So we get this. We get to meet a number of different aliens. We get to meet a number of different heroes that they team up with. The first episode, I watched the first 2 episodes, by the way. The first episode is the White Witch, which is not what you think it is. It's the name of a spaceship, or a speeder in this case. And they basically join up with 2 I don't know, machine heads. They just guys like tinkering on their cars, and they somehow get mixed up with some alien gangsters. I don't even know what the race of them are, but I recognize one of the characters' names, Vlix, and this is a little bit of trivia for you. For a long time, and it probably still is to this point, Vlix is the most expensive and rare, well, he's expensive because he's rare, action figure from the original Power of the Force series in the 80s, back when the Star Wars toy sales were tickering off. They weren't doing as much. I still remember seeing those last few rounds of action figures with the coins on the card sitting in the bins for $2 a piece, and I didn't buy any of them. I just want to kick myself now. They're worth hundreds, if not more, each. But Vlix was unique because he was made mainly available in Brazil, and it wasn't really part of the line that came out widely in the United States. So if you want to complete your collection in a way that includes the Power of the Force figures, you need to get Vlix. VLIX. He's super rare, and he appears in the first and second episodes. He's kind of like the heavy in this, amongst the gangsters that we see in this. They have their own story. There's a whole family dynamic. There's a much older dad figure who's kind of the boss of the family, the godfather of the family. There's a young upstart gangster who's trying to prove himself, and Vlix is kind of the enforcer that assists the younger guy. But if the godfather, if the dad says, "Hey, take care of the kid," Vlix would do that. He's kind of got a little bit more influence than most, but he does what he's told, I guess. Supposedly, this hops around with R2-D2 and C-3PO to different masters throughout the series. And what surprised me, and again, I should have watched this as a kid. I wasn't much of a kid at the time, but I should have watched this as a kid. But yeah, I guess I just, for some reason, my brain does not retain it. So I have to count this as something I've never seen before. My brain retains almost nothing of it. I don't know why, but I mean, I recognize the animation style and, of course, Anthony Daniels and the Vlix, but beyond that, I don't remember any of the 14 whole episodes. Yeah, it's technically 2 seasons, and it's got 13 episodes in the first season and 1 in the second season, but it's technically a movie, I think. Because it's a little bit longer than, it's 48 minutes, so it's a double-sized episode. So yeah, it's technically 2 episodes. So I'm going to blow through this. I've already put it on my watch list on my phone, where I keep track of all the TV that I watch. But yeah, I'm going to have to blow through this. I'm going to have to take a break from watching old Three's Company reruns and watch this. Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm only on season 3. There's 8 seasons. It's a grind. I mean, it's enjoyable, but it's still. So if you're a Star Wars fan who needs to see everything, and you're one of the old school fans, and you miss this, it might be time to revisit it. I like, while it is very much just Saturday morning cartoon level animation, it's not very robust. It's still styled really nice. It has that sort of look and feel. It is still kind of stiff at times, but you're dealing mostly with droids. It makes for some overly convoluted storytelling sometimes. It's with a very simple premise. We're with these humans, and the humans discover that one of them is actually a secret rebel, and they've got her mom is I don't know, part of the Rebel Alliance. So this has to all take place before the original trilogy. Yeah, it has to be. Yeah. Because, yeah, the comics, I think, also took place before the original trilogy. There's no way Luke, Leia, Han, all of them, well, Han might be, but there's no way Luke and Leia are going to let R2 and 3PO just gets traded off in a card game or something. Han would have been playing that card game and would have lost the droids. I'm telling you that right now. If that's how it happened, right now Luke and Leia are really ticked off. And by the way, the kind of cool thing about this is as much as you want to keep it about R2 and 3PO, there are so many Star Warsy things. There's somebody at one point grabs a lightsaber. Like, they find a lightsaber. Oh, somebody left this in their speeder. Like, and this guy uses a lightsaber to cut the binders that somebody had to, they were captured. And nobody's brought it up since. And it's not like 3PO goes, oh, that's just like Master Luke's. No. And unless they made a reference to them, I don't think that's the case. And then also, the very first episode, if you listen carefully, the two guys who are gearheads, they want to join this race, and it's the Bunta race. Yeah, the Bunta race, which happens on Tatooine, which we were introduced to in Star Wars Episode 1 in 1999, 14 years later. 14 years later. So yeah, they're using things. Lucas used things from the animated series, and it's not the first time. And also, from the live action stuff, all the stuff that he really mostly had no involvement with to a certain degree. He's not overseeing the day-to-day, but he definitely had enough of a say in these things that it didn't turn out like the holiday special in 1978. He learned his lesson with that. Don't just start giving off stuff unless it's like books. Like the books. He never cared for any of that. He knew it wasn't his, so it never counted in his mind. So, even if you're worried about Disney stealing everything Star Wars and getting rid of everything and putting it in Legends and making certain things canon that you don't like, well, guess what? George never considered it canon either unless he made it directly. So, just the way it is. So yeah, I say, if you're a Star Wars nut, as I am, I should have been watching this a long time ago. I don't think I've finished the Ewoks cartoon myself either. Yeah, I know. I should have. But the cartoons to me aren't as important as the films or the video games or things like that. So yeah, I haven't started Outlaws either, so don't get me on that. So definitely check it out. It's only 14 episodes, technically 15. If you count the double episode as 2 episodes. And you might find some neat little surprises. Yes, just like in the Star Wars Holiday Special, Boba Fett shows up in this in animated form. He made his first appearance in a cartoon in the Star Wars Holiday Special in 1978, and here in 1985, he makes an appearance in at least one of I don't know which episode, not the first 2, but Boba Fett shows up at some point. So, going back to his animated roots, which is kind of neat. So, I say, yeah, definitely check it out. If you're a fan of animation, if you're a fan of Star Wars, obviously this has to be watched. If you really are casual and you're not a kid and you're really don't care about the things beyond the normal Star Wars stuff, you're probably not going to get a kick out of any of this. It's not going to dredge up any youthful memories or nostalgia. It's just going to be Anthony Daniels being C-3PO and freaking out every so often and lots of beeping. That's pretty much what you're going to get. So, yeah. I love it. So, I'm going to watch it. It just was waiting for it to get picked. So, let's pick tomorrow's episode. 222. What do we got? 222. Oh my. Oh, I think this might be our last MCU film. Technically. I mean, it's our last film that is counted amongst the MCU, but was still released through Universal. Like, the original, like Iron Man 2, and Captain America and Thor were all released through Paramount because Disney didn't own any of them yet. Universal had the rights, bought long ago, for The Incredible Hulk. And that's what we're watching. So, yeah. And go back to the Ed Norton Incredible Hulk. Should be interesting. The Incredible Hulk on the next Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.